Hey guys, welcome to the third and final part of the four-legged walk cycle tutorial series. In this lesson we're going to be adding on the neck and the head, and we're going to be doing some finessing to the actual walk cycle itself, and finally we'll be adding some secondary motion with the tail and the ears. Let's jump in. Okay guys, so picking up from where we left off on part 2, we had the horse walking like so, and as I mentioned during the video, I wasn't really happy with the shoulders here and the rear, and I think what this comes down to is if we jump back in, we actually haven't got any ups or down positions on these layers. So the first thing we're going to do is add these in, and then hopefully it'll make our walk cycle a little bit more exciting. So I'm just going to come forward 3 frames, 1, 2, 3, and we're just going to copy this position, and we're just going to make this go down a little bit, and then so around here, 3 frames from here, 1, 2, 3, gonna add an up, like so. Here we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and we'll copy the down from here, paste it in, and finally 1, 2, 3 here, select the up and paste that. So now if we preview just this little walk, we got a lot more of a bouncy motion in the torso, the shoulder section, which I think was what we were missing previously. So we're going to do the same to the rear. Just this section here. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. We'll add a down position here. So 1, 2, 3 after the pass position. And we'll throw in an up. 1, 2, 3 again. We'll copy the down. And finally 1, 2, 3, we'll copy the up. So now if we do a little preview, we've got a bit more motion in our walk cycle, which is nice. I'm going to show you how I ended up getting the kind of accordion shape to the spine. If I go back to my reference, you'll see it kind of feels like it compresses inwards from here to here when the legs come together, which is actually how the leg walk cycles will do it, because this hip will be pushing forward to stand here whilst this one's dragging back. So the way I achieved that was to grab this section here, and we're going to use the Mount Monograph null tool, which will add a null on the anchor point and center it. So we're going to call this rear hip alignment. And we're going to do the same for the front. That is not how you spell front, not that it really matters. So front hip alignment. Just going to turn this on. I forgot about this again. So this will show you what buttons I'm pressing when it launches. There we go. Right, so what we're going to do now is on these alignments we're going to hit P for position, and we're going to keyframe both of these. So this is when they're both far out. So if we go to the pass position where the legs come in, like so, we're just going to simply slide these in a little bit. And then back to the context here. I'm going to copy and paste the first frames. So now when we hit render, we've got this kind of compression in the spine, which is looking pretty nice. I think I'm going to quickly, let's turn the torso a different colour so we can identify that easier. And I'm just going to adjust this length so it's less bent, maybe 165, and render that. How does that look? Okay, I don't like that. I think that's looking pretty good. So that's how we achieve a little bit more compression in the spine, and it just makes the walk cycle look a little bit more natural. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add in the head. So I'm just going to quickly find that layer. And we're going to add this in, retain layer sizes, import, and again we're going to have to do the slight rigging, but what I'm going to do first is just copy all of these layers into our front layer, like so. That's a dead layer, there's nothing on that. Let's get rid of that quickly. So we've got this neck, which is simply a template. I am going to quickly just drop this to 30% for now and lock that layer. So there's only 2 joints here, so I'm just going to do this really quickly. We're going to do the usual trick with the rulers. Like so. Let's delete those joints. With the head, I'm just going to quickly move the anchor position to here. With the ears, if you just solo these layers, you can see, I'm just going to put it down into the bottom corner. And like so on that one. So we'll select these ears and we'll link them to the head, the eye. Why am I selecting this? There we go. Sorry about that. Right, so with the eye, we've got this pupil layer as well. So what I'm going to do here is expand that layer to a shape layer. I'm going to duplicate this, rename the new one called mask, place it above the pupil, and then we're going to toggle down into the path, and we're going to do the same with this one. With the mask layer, we're going to alt click, and with the pick whip, I'm just going to drag onto this path. And what we're going to do now is use the pupil and alpha matte demask. So what that will do now is mask out the pupil that's inside the mask area we just set, and by linking it to this path property we can then adjust these path nodes and it will close the pupil. I'm not really going to animate blinks as such in this tutorial series, but that's how I go about rigging eyes. And now we can go ahead and colour these different colour so we know they're the eyes. I'm going to select them all and drag them to the head so they're parented too. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to shy these layers because we're not going to actually animate them. So there we go. Here we've got the basis of the head all rigged up now. If I rotate this head, everything's attached to it, which is what we want. So now we're going to use Rubberhose 2 again. We're going to make a new hose rig. And again we're going to go into manage and just rename this. We're going to select start and end again, and we're going to call this neck. So the neck end, we're going to, with the parent, we're going to hold shift whilst we do it and select the head so it jumps into position like we did before. And with the neck start, we're going to attach it to this front torso area. So I'm just going to hit tilde and we're just going to see a bit better. Holding shift, drag to the torso layer, and we've got our neck in position. We're just going to reposition this so it's behind the head, like so. And we've got this torso layer here actually, which we don't need. We'll delete that. So with the end selected, we get all of the hose options. We're going to change the bend direction so it's in the negative. We're just going to adjust the length till we get a nice bit of a curvature, like so. And then in the neck features here, we're just going to toggle this down, find the style panel, and we're just going to play with these settings to get this right. I'm just going to check. There's a way of doing a tapered stroke on the new one, which is why I wanted to install Rubberhose 2. How do you do the tapering again? Sorry, I don't really use Rubberhose that much anymore, but it worked really well for this. Maybe it's this. Maybe we need to somehow apply this to our hose. How do you do that? I apologise for this. There is a way to apply this tapered hose. Right, I might quickly pause it here, figure this out and jump back in. I apologise guys, 1 second. Okay guys, I'm back. Sorry about the delay on that. So what you do is you need to select the neck layer, which is the hose itself, and you select the taper hose in the drop down. Holding shift, you click this icon here, which applies it. I was trying to do that, but I wasn't holding shift, and that was the problem. So what this does now is it gives you tapering options. So we can adjust these, and basically what we're going to try and do is match this circle up with this circle, like so. And then this gives us a chunky neck, and I believe there's a way to thin this out by just adjusting these. So if we make the width a bit lower first, like maybe 25, that fits nicely with the neck there. And if we increase the taper, okay, that's not really changing much anymore, so maybe that's as far as the taper will push. So let's go to 30, and it's just trying to get a good balance between neck thickness and connection to this area. I think I preferred 25, so let's just stick with that. And that's how you get the tapered bend effect in the neck, which worked quite nicely. Next, we're just going to quickly change the color to our skin color we've got here. That didn't work, so what's going on here? So we've got a new tapered hose now, so there's probably a stroke in here, I imagine. This fill color, let's change that one. That's the one we needed. And my mouse is going to die. Let me plug this in. Connection for this mouse is rather fiddly. Come on, man. Classic Matt Wilson tutorials. Distracted by shit you shouldn't have to be. There we go. Right, apologies for that. Looking back at this, the neck, I'm not happy with that thickness, so I'm just going to adjust that. Let's go to the 30. My mouse has just unplugged itself. I'm just going to carry on. Hopefully it doesn't die. If it does, I have to sort that out. Maybe do another pause. Anyways, now we've got this neck connected like so. That's looking quite nice. So next we just need to animate the head. So what we're going to actually animate is when this section of the torso goes up, the head will go down. So what I'm actually going to do is just solo this section and the head, and let's just try and figure this out. So what is this currently doing? So that's going down, so I'm just going to push the head up. Down. I'm just going to do it on the passing, on the contacts so far, the contacts and the passing positions, and see what that looks like. pretty good. And we're going to do the same with the head as well. We're going to parent it to a null. And we're going to call this head alignment. And we're going to do the same. Add some compression on this one. Let's try that. What does that look like? Just going to double check my reference again. Let's just quickly remove this neck layer, we don't need that anymore. I'm going to just try flipping these keyframes out and do in the opposite direction, so when this is going back, that's going forward. I think that's what I did on my other one. Yeah, that feels a bit more natural. Still not a fan of this neck thickness actually. I'm going to just increase this even further. That's looking quite good, but in general I'm not a fan of the positioning of the head. I think I'm just going to move it slightly up, like so. If you select the position here so you get all the values, you can just adjust this. So I'm just going to quickly clear my rulers because they will be snapping to it, and that's rather annoying. Let's try and find a position for this head where it looks a bit more natural. I think that might do it. That's looking a bit nicer. So now if we just go to the ears, we're going to simply add some rotation to these. When the head goes down, we're just going to push forward maybe 3 frames and just add a slight wobble on them. Come forward like 4 or 5 frames and reset them back to where they were. So now it should be like when he has a step, the ears wobble. It feels a bit delayed. Let's start the wobble about here from when the hoof hits the floor. We're just gonna add some ease into that real quick. I'm not gonna get too detailed with it, but it'll just make it feel a bit smoother. And again, this is just fine tuning, adding secondaries. I think what would help sell this as well is if we add some rotation in the head. So when he stomps down, the head's going to move down a little bit as well. Let's add some ease into it, and we'll offset this a little bit so the head moves slightly before the ears, so you get a kind of chain of reaction to it. this down. I think I'm going to push it down a little bit further. Let's put this as an up keyframe, and we'll just see how that's looking. Wrong button. So when this foot stomps, the head sort of reacts, bobs down. We've got a pass position, going straight to the up, and then looping back to the down. And I think that's looking pretty cool. I'm going to add a tiny little bit more bend to this neck by increasing the radius, so we kind of get this kind of curved spine. Maybe not, because that's made the taper get a little bit funny. Let's add a little bit. The taper in Rubberhose too is pretty good, but it's kind of tricky when you're doing it on a neck, I think, but it kind of looks okay. Right, so lastly we're going to just add in the tail, which I just put as like a sort of creamy colour, and for this I simply just drew out a sort of oval shape, a little bit like that. For some reason they didn't take the cream colour, so I had to redraw that. Just going to use the mount my graph anchor point position, and we'll just call this tail, and we're going to go to the torso in the rear, which is actually the thigh. Let's make sure it's behind this layer, and I'm going to position it roughly here. Rotate that, and I don't like the size of it, so let's just adjust the scale here. I'm just going to put it somewhere like that, and we're going to parent it to the thigh, which is this layer, and I'm just going to copy these position keyframes onto the tail, and then we're just going to adjust them so we get it lined up to where we just put it, like so. And I'm just going to nudge these forward a few frames, so there's a bit of a delay. Oh yeah, sorry, we cannot parent it to the thigh because it rotates with the handle. That's why we're getting the tail rotating all around, all over the place, which we don't want. We're going to parent it to the hip alignment. And that is not looking very nice. It's because of the way it rotated now. Okay, we're going to delete these positions, and we're just going to keyframe it. So there's a down here, so we're just going to bring it down up to the midpoint, which will be the same as this first frame. Maybe not. Let's bring it up. We're just going to do this by eye to make sure it's always closely positioned to the rear. Copy the first frame to the back, and then I'm going to do a clone, so we've got a few more frames, and we're going to knock this one to the front so we can knock it forward about 2 frames to have a nice offset. 2 frames seems too much, let's just do 1 frame. And we've kind of got this bouncy motion in the tail, which is a bit hard to see. We have Command K, change the background color quickly to black. Okay. And we'll preview that. Just going to bring that down a little bit. That looks a bit better. Let's just look at my reference again. I've got much more subtle movement in my neck here. Ours is looking a bit extreme. That, especially that stomp, the way the head's falling down, I'm not particularly loving that actually. Where is that? It's this down in particular. Let's just adjust that and that, make it a little bit more subtle. Again, it's loads of fine tuning until you get something that you like, and obviously what you like might look different to what I like, and I don't really want to spend a huge time fine tuning this in the tutorial because it's a waste of your time. I'm just trying to show you how I built this rig up. I think that's generally looking a bit better though, those little tweaks I just did. So right, what we're going to actually do now is this rear legs composition. We're just going to delete, if I can find it, here we go. And we're just going to duplicate the front legs again, like we did before. And we'll call this rear legs. And we're going to do the fun thing of colouring all these layers again, just so all the tweaks we've done are in sync. So it's the find the toe. We're going to have to do this bloody toe thing again. Expand that, copy the position and anchor points. Select group 1 and 2, make it this dark color, like so, and we're going to add a fill. Copy that fill onto the remaining parts. And we're going to quickly do it to the front. like so, and then we're just going to delete all of the head, the torso and the tail, so we've just got these legs. So if we go to the complete horse, we can drop the rear legs in, and then when we get to our loop point, which is here, we're just going to add a time remap. Hit in a keyframe, come to the end one, delete that one off. I'm going to put a keyframe where we hit it, come one frame back, hit in another keyframe, go to the front one, copy and paste the one from the front to the end. We're going to hit Alt and we're going to type in loop out with a big O, and then cycle, and then we can just adjust the positioning. Like so. And now we've got these crazy hips bouncing up and down there, which I'm not a fan of. So what we're going to do is just in the rear, we're going to select the thigh and just adjust the up positions. Still getting quite extreme overlaps on the ups. It's because I really pushed the ups and downs on it more, which I obviously didn't do as much on here. The movements on mine are a lot more subtle. Which, how could we achieve? I guess we're just going to have to fine tune it. And in general, I think if we just push all the positions down a bit more, do it for the front as well. That's looking okay. There's just this circle at the front here which I'm not too keen on. It's coming quite low. So that'll be these downs. I'm just going to bring these up. Like I said, this is just a fine-tuning game now. I don't really want to spend a hell of a lot of time on it, but I'll try and clean it up as much as I can so we get like a nicer looking walk cycle. I don't think we've kind of got this lined up properly. Might have to, if we find the contact position which is there, so we want that to be about there. I think that will be a bit better. That's looking smoother. think on mine I've got a lot more like head back and forth on the deer when he's walking, so that's just a case of adjusting this alignment controller. I'm just going to select these front keyframes here, pull it back a bit further. It's probably a bit too much now, but let's have a look. Particularly like that, but I'm going to call it a day there. I think that's good enough for you guys to understand how I rigged all this together. So you've got the front legs walking like a human, these weird back legs where they bend inwards on themselves, and then the head with the rubber hose for the spine and the neck, and then we're utilizing the new rubber hose taper for the neck, so we get this kind of nice tapered effect. And then you could go in and spend a lot more detail on actually increasing the ease-ins between the ups and the downs and the sliding across to make it a lot smoother. And then obviously the heads up and down on the steps and stuff. There's a lot more you can do with this, but I just wanted to show you how to do a pretty effective rig which gives you quite easy controls in the end. The only annoying bit is the rear legs, but it doesn't take too long to do all the fill color changes. And if you didn't care too much about these little hoofs, it would be a lot quicker because you could just chuck a fill on here like so, and then just make that color, and then you don't have to faff changing all the layer colors because it's done in one fill, which is quite nice. Depends on what style you're going for though. So there we have it guys, that's how I built the deer rig. If you've been following along in this tutorial series, you could easily adapt this method of rigging and apply it to a horse or a dog or pretty much any other four-legged animal. If you've enjoyed this little tutorial series, I'd really appreciate it if you drop it a like and share it with your friends, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I'll try my best to answer them. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching folks.